Hey everyone, welcome back to the latest GoSkills Excel Challenge solution. How close did you get to solving it? Well, we've got Microsoft trainer Deborah Ashby ready to share her solution. Check it out right now.
So let's take a look at how I solved this challenge. And in the first part of this challenge, I asked you to edit the VLOOKUP formulas in cells D9, D11 and D13 so that if an incorrect catalogue number is entered into cell D5, the message part not found appears. So in these cells currently, we have VLOOKUP formulas that use this part number to look up this information in the parts catalogue. And if I enter in a catalogue number that isn't in that list, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and hit enter, currently I'm getting NA errors in those cells. So we want to make those more meaningful, and to do this we can simply add some error handling into our VLOOKUP formulas. Now because I have NA errors in here, I could use the if NA function, but it's also worth noting that you could also use if error. Now I didn't specify which one to use, so if you used either, that is absolutely fine. So let's go to the first one. We're going to click up in the formula bar and we're going to add in if NA, open a bracket. Now we have two arguments for if NA. The value, well, the value in the cell is being generated by the VLOOKUP formula. So all we need to do is click on the end, press comma, and add in what we want it to say in the cell if the part isn't found. And because we want to add text, that needs to go in quote marks, and we just want it to say part not found. Close off our quotes, close off our if NA, hit enter, and now that's a lot more meaningful. So I'm going to go through and do exactly the same for these other two. I'm going to do it off camera, so join me back here in a couple of seconds. So now I have those if NAs in here, and just to show you that it does work with if error, I've used if error for the last formula. And you can see the structure of this formula is exactly the same. We just add in the text onto the end. So that was the first part of this exercise. Let's add back in an actual part number that's found in the table, 77840. There we go. Now the second part of this exercise was to lock down cell D5 so that only catalogue numbers of exactly 5 characters can be entered. And I wanted you to add messages so that when they click on this cell, it gives them a little pop-up to let them know what needs to go into this cell, and also add a little pop-up message so that if they enter in something that is greater than 5 characters, they're going to get an error. Now for this, we utilize data validation. So we're going to jump up to the data tab, go into data validation, and notice that we have 3 tabs here: settings, input message, and error alert. And we're going to use all 3 of these tabs. So our validation criteria, now there are a couple of things you could choose in here. You could go for whole number or you could go for text length. So let's go for text length. And I'm going to say data that is equal to, and I want the length to be maximum 5 characters. Let's click on OK. Now I just want to briefly test this out. If I double click in this cell and let's just add a character onto the end, so effectively we have 6 characters, when I hit enter I'm going to get a pop-up error message. This value doesn't match the data validation restrictions defined for this cell. So I'm going to click on cancel. If I was to enter something in that is correct, so let's go for 33093, hit enter. That part number isn't found either, but it's letting me add it into the cell. So now that we have our data validation actually working, let's jump back into it, and we're going to add an input message and an error alert. Because our input message is what will show when somebody clicks on cell D5. Now I didn't specify a title, you can give this whatever title you like, and I'm just going to call this information, and the input message is going to be please enter the 5-digit catalogue number. Let's click on OK to make sure that is working. There you can see it. So as soon as we click on this cell, it's going to give us that piece of useful information. Let's jump back into data validation one more time and add our error alert. Now there are 3 different styles here, and it really just changes the icon that you see. So I'm going to go for a warning, and I'm just going to say wait as the title, and the error message, if they input something incorrectly, maximum catalogue number length is 5 characters. Let's click on OK. So now if I was to enter in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and hit enter, it's going to pop up that error message. So this is a lot more meaningful to your users than the default error message that's generated by Excel. So that is all I needed you to do for part 2. Now the final part of this exercise was to protect the entire worksheet so that only cell D5 is editable. I want people to be able to enter in a catalogue number, but I don't want them to be able to change anything else in this worksheet. So I don't want them messing with my formulas and being able to change them. Now this part of the exercise deals with worksheet protection. Now one thing you have to remember when you're working in Excel is that every cell by default is locked. Now people always find that a little bit of a strange concept because we can essentially jump into any cell, start typing with no restrictions. So how come every cell is locked? Well, if we click in a cell and press Ctrl 1 to bring up the Format Cells dialog box, we have a Protection tab just here. And you can see that the cell is locked. Now, every cell is locked, but that locking doesn't take effect until we protect the worksheet. So that is why we can actually type into cells, because most worksheets are not protected. So effectively, what we need to do here is if we only want people to be able to type into cell D5, we need to unlock this cell and then protect the worksheet, which will lock every other cell. So let's click in cell D5, Ctrl 1 to bring up Format Cells. We want to go to the Protection tab and deselect the Locked checkbox and click on OK. So now cell D5 is unlocked, we can protect the worksheet. So we're going to jump across to the Review tab and we're going to go to Protect Sheet. Now I didn't specify if I wanted you to add a password. If you did, that's absolutely fine. If not, we can simply click on OK just here. And if I now try and type into this cell, cell D9, maybe I want to change the formula. If I try and double click to edit it, you can see I'm getting a message. The cell or chart you're trying to change is on a protected sheet. So it means that nobody can make any changes to any cell on this worksheet, but we can still jump into cell D5, type in a part number, and it's going to allow us to do that. Like so. And that is how I solved this challenge. Tell us what you think about our solution to this challenge by commenting below or joining the conversation on our Slack channel. That's it for now. I will see you next time.
So there it is. Did you get the same results? Did you use the same approach? Or did you try something different? We'd like to know. Share your take on the challenge in the comments below or join us for more discussion in our Slack channel. Link in the description. Thanks for participating and make sure to subscribe to this channel to get an alert when the next challenge is released. We'll see you then.